the tool that turns referrals into vested introductions. Positioning the sounding board service as a true benefit to your best clients is a win-win situation. Hey, welcome back to Rare. I am very excited to be sharing some time again today with Mr. Steve Phillips, a very good friend of mine, coworker. Steve heads up our protocol group, which is our coaching, consulting, and mentoring team. And I think the timing of this particular conversation is really interesting because if you are a regular follower of the Rare videos, you know some of the topic line that I've been discussing over the last couple of weeks. And one of the things that I'm always a huge proponent of is the fact that you have to create tangibility inside of your practice. You have to be able to bring things to life by simply naming them. And if you have services and systems and processes that you provide that go unnamed and therefore unnoticed, you're only shooting yourself in the foot in terms of running the entrepreneurial aspect of a true business, which is what your financial practice obviously is. So with that being said, I've asked Steve to join us because I want him to talk about the sounding board. It's an exclusive offering, proprietary concept, if you will, of USA Financial Protocol. Steve is just done a tremendous job with developing the sounding board, and I think you're going to gain a lot out of this. So in a certain way, I'm going to kind of turn the reins over to Steve here. Obviously, I will be commenting, questioning, and adding as we go through this, but this is kind of his baby, and I want you to hear it directly from Steve. So Steve, thank you again for being here, and there's your launching pad, buddy. Let's talk about the sounding board.
Yeah, well done. And always good to be here, Mike, as you know. And that's why I was taking notes when you said, we talk a lot about naming processes in general with advisors, just to take everything that you do and give it a name. But then, as you mentioned, naming a process inside the process, that just lends itself to the law of resonance. What resonates with clients when they leave a conversation. So it's a cool connection that you said that. The sounding board really has become, this is something that we've been working on for, maybe 7 or 8 years. And it's always been good. And then we got into 2020 and 2021 and pandemics and things. And it really became a moment for advisors to differentiate themselves. So the idea of, and then there's a larger umbrella, Mike, that you and I talked about. And that is when we work with advisors at USA, we talk about this. There's no pitching of products and services. We have all of that. But we talk about it. Everything is being positioned as a service to best clients.
Right.
And so when we talk about the sounding board, we're talking about an opportunity for introductions, not referrals. And in previous conversations you and I have had, we've talked about the difference between being introduced and being referred. We won't get into that right now. But the whole idea of the sounding board and what it means to your best clients and how important the words are. What was revealed to us last year, Mike, was that a lot of our best advisors said, my clients are feeling pretty good still about things because we're in contact, we're having meaningful conversations, but they've been sharing with us and still do into 2021 that they have friends and family members that aren't feeling so good about the future.
Right.
And not just about finances, but just about everything that's going on. And so we said, there really is an opportunity for positioning another service to best clients. And that is, if people are important to you, they're important to us.
Right.
And if we can sit down, and now I'm using verbiage that we teach the advisors, if we could sit down with a friend or a family member to what? To give them a sense of peace and calm about their future, not their financial futures, their future, then we're happy to do that. And we're happy to do that as a service to you. Well, the first thing, and that's only part of the conversation, the first thing is that clients really start to think, well, wait a minute, you're doing this for me.
Right.
And that's really key. And so what we tell advisors too is that you have to lose certain words. You don't want to fall back. Worst thing that can happen is for a client, as you said, recognize that there's a name to this process and it's meaningful and it's different. And then fall back to something like, hey, Mike, who do you know that's just like you that could use our help?
Right.
And so what are we back to? The client's going, oh, so Steve's asking for a referral now.
Right.
So we're really keen on helping our advisors, imprinting on our advisors that there's a certain way to say this. And so imagine that you would say to your best clients, yeah, we know that you are feeling good about the future. So are we. A lot going on, but we still feel good about the future together. And that's because of our process. But this might be you. We know that a lot of our best clients are sharing with us, they have friends and family members that aren't feeling so excited about the future. And you know what? Last year, it occurred to us, a real opportunity to add an additional service. So I just want you to understand this, Mike. If there are people in your life that are important to you, they're also important to us. And if you feel like that we could sit down and share our process for the purpose of giving them a sense of peace and calm about the future, we are happy to do that. Now, listen, they don't have to become a client to receive that service. In fact, Mike, they cannot become a client in that first meeting. It's not the purpose of the meeting. The purpose of the meeting is a service to you. Somebody important to you, they're important to us. And again, if we can give a sense of peace and calm about the future, we're happy to do that. And so there is we spend probably with Aaron and Matt and the protocol team, we probably spend a good 2 or 3 meetings on making sure that verbiage, and then we back it up with a branded piece that, what's really interesting, Mike, and I've found this to be different, is the stuff that we teach advisors to say, we put it right on client-facing pieces, compliance approved and everything. So when the client takes this home and they're thinking, what did Mike say about, there's something about a sounding board as a part of our process and a service to our best clients, we're willing, it says it right there.
Yeah. And that's, by the way, just
imprinting. Go ahead.
Just jump in really quickly.
You bet.
So if you're viewing this right now, it's worth you stopping and rewinding just a couple of minutes, because Steve just gave you literally some golden words. And if you picked up on what he was saying, it's very specific, as you always say, right? The words matter. And so those words matter. And there is a certain combination of the way he said that is vitally, critically important, because if you change those words, if you twist those words and it does not come out exactly the way he positioned that, you will have the opposite effect. And the positioning is crucial in this. And that's why, as Steve points out, it then comes out as a printed piece so that the words on the printed piece exactly match the words that you verbalized, because the positioning of this to turn it into a service, to make it tangible, to bring it to life, to have a name for it, that all has to coincide with exactly how you're explaining it, how you're saying it, so that it comes across in the right fashion. And that cannot be overstated.
Yeah, that it cannot be overstated. And here's what happens then. If you say the wrong words, what your clients will do is refer people, endorse you.
Right.
And they're trying. They say nice things. Hey, Mike Walters is a great guy. He's really helped us through a lot of things. He's been a great advisor. And if you need somebody, call him. There's a difference between being endorsed and being referred. And when you said there are golden good words and golden bad words. And you know what's really funny? I'm no disrespect to anyone in the industry, because that's never our point. But when you look back years, here's what we give our advisors, like after we coach it, to give to clients. This is the piece. And there's the 5 simple steps. Share contact information about us. Share your friends' contact information with us. Let them know that we're going to reach out to them on your behalf because you asked us to. That's important. So the process is there. Here's what your competition is doing. They're going, hey, Mike, if you know somebody like you that could use our help, here's a $20 Starbucks gift card for you. And we laugh about it. And again, I'm not disparaging the industry, but there's a difference. I'd rather, so your clients, especially now, this is the thing. People have different things that they love in their life. They like a good bottle of wine, they got the new golf course, the new restaurant, whatever it is. You get away to your favorite getaway spot in Florida, Mike, or whatever. If you love something in your life, you share it with people that are important to you.
Right.
I have a great relationship with my advisor. I want to share that. How do I do that? So what we have done, and there's a human nature component to that. And we've talked about that before, Mike. When I introduce you, it's a meaningful thing.
Right.
Hey, I want you to meet my advisor, Mike Walters. Not like, hey, here's Mike's card, call him. If you do, great. If you don't, great. Tell him I sent you. There's a difference between being endorsed and being introduced.
Right.
And the whole idea, and there's one other thing, Mike, and then I definitely want your thoughts on this too. There are certain moments in a lot of our coaching and consulting where credibility is a factor. And what do I mean by that? So if you say we're offering this as a service to best clients, there's a way really to have your clients go, wow, and this is it. You know, Mike, imagine, and once you tell our advisors to say this to me, imagine, Mike, if we open this up to everyone. Can you imagine? No. We simply couldn't do it. So here's what we've done. We've blocked the second and fourth Thursday of every month for sounding board meetings. Now, what you can do is if you have a friend or family member, you can give Angela a call and she'll get that set up. We're very specific about that. We keep those days open for sounding board meetings. A couple of things happen. Clients are like, that's a thing. First of all, right. I've already said that you don't have to become a client to receive this meeting. So essentially, I'm doing it for free. Now you're saying there's certain times. And what we have found is that when advisors share that, clients are like, get on the phone right away, get a time, we're going to make an introduction. And so the whole thing becomes part of a process. It's filled with professional contrast. Your clients go, that's different. It's meaningful. And it's backed up by words, the process, and set aside times. So all of which, and Mike, you know, the success we've had with it at USA in the last year was a big deal in 2020.
Huge. Yeah.
And even as the pandemic starts to loosen up, we know that it's a meaningful human contact for your best clients to do something special for the people in their life that are important to them. And you provide it as a service. Yeah. So
yeah, well, what's happening
all those pieces go together.
You know, you're taking the concept that I mean, you and I spoke to this, gosh, decades ago, right? About the idea of creating tangibility in an intangible environment. Yes. So we work in this intangible industry. You know, we don't physically manufacture something that people can touch and feel and pick out their color and, you know, and decide, you know, do they want the leather or do they want the extra, you know, special stereo upgrade or whatever the case might be. Instead, you know, we've got a handshake, a promise, and at best a piece of paper. And so the tangibility component, by being able to infuse that into the equation, starting with the naming process is a huge first step. But all you're now doing is you're supercharging that. You're taking it to the next level and the next level and the next level, because you're now really saying, hey, if we do it, it's a service. And if it's a service, it has to be positioned correctly. And if it's a service, it has to be of benefit to our best clients. And so referrals are not a benefit to your best clients. They are you with your hat in your hand, hoping that they'll kick someone your direction.
Asking for a favor.
Asking for a favor, exactly. And yet, what the sounding board does is it turns that into truly a service for your best clients. Hey, Joe, if someone in your life is important to you and they're struggling with this right now, well, by definition, that means they're important to us. And because they're important to you, that means they're important to us. Here's what we're going to do. Here's our service. And then the fact, which you know, you can't, again, I already said overstating, you can't overstate this either, is the fact that you're physically, openly saying, here's the blocks of time. It's the second and the fourth Thursday or whatever it is that you pick. When you're doing that and you're bringing that down, now you're telling them, as you said, hey, this really is a thing. There is volume here. This has demand in the marketplace. Or I wouldn't have these times blocked, because obviously, without it even needing to be said, they know your time is valuable. They know you're not just going to give this up and have it sit idle. So now it's almost like, oh, well, gosh, if that's there, you know, I want to get there before somebody else gets there, because I need to, I don't want my family who's important to me or my friends or whatever the connection is to be pushed 3 months out because everybody else picked it up. So you create a little bit of that supply and demand in there as well, but you do it in a very professional way. And that then gets you into your contrast conversation and what you just talked about with professional contrast. So it's,
no kidding.
It's very, very systematic how it all actually builds psychologically.
And, you know, you've said a couple things I just jotted down that are really important. And think about this. You know, we've talked about that the sounding board, we contrast the idea of introductions and referrals. And that's sort of a base conversation. But the sounding board, it's not, the referrals and the sounding board are not even, they really don't belong together.
Right.
A referral So think of this there, and you just said it, and that's why I jotted it down. Your client gets nothing out of referring anyone to you. They get whatever they might get.
Right.
The gift card or
the $20 gift certificate.
Right,
which might be worse than nothing, by the way.
Right. Yeah.
Because now it just shows how desperate you truly are.
Yeah. So and here's the thing too, that, Matt Yaksha, who was part of our team too, is a lot of advisors know. And he said this when we were really developing out the sounding board, and it was participating with an advisor and saying, wait a minute, Mr. Advisor, you are asking a client to use emotional and intellectual and philosophical capital to build your for-profit business by asking for a referral. I'm asking you to use something really important to you to help build my practice. Do me a favor, would you?
Right.
The sounding board is, and so you said it can't be overstated, and it can't be overstated because this does really come out as it's advertised. It's a service to best clients. The other thing too, Mike, is, hey, I referred my friend Aaron over to you. I gave him your card. You're going to, well, now there's a mystery. I never hear from you. Did you ever hear from Aaron? Did the meeting get set up? Did the whole thing? No. We do this second and fourth Thursday of every month. And just what you said, clients are like, we better get a slot. We better get a spot. This is being held open. There's not mystery here of, hey, did you call? I referred Aaron to you. Did you call him? Did he call you? Did it ever happen? No. Next Thursday, we've got 2 slots open, and Mike Walters is introducing to us a really key friend that he wants us to sit down with. So it really is a whole different dynamic.
Yeah. Well, hey, I tell you what, Steve, we are bumping them up against the clock here. But what I'd like to do is, if you have time, let's revisit this in a second segment, and we'll get into professional contrast and how it fits together with what we've just talked about.
Fantastic.
Awesome. So, hey, if the document, I should point out real quickly that Steve was holding up, if you do not already have that, if you're not already working with the protocol group and you would like to get a sampling of some of this stuff, reach out to the business development consultants and or reach out to Steve's team at Protocol. You can reach either group through USA Financial. And as always, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and we are going to come back with our next session on professional contrast. We'll be back soon. Thank you.